This is a 15-minute all levels post-work recovery flow meant to get you moving after sitting at a desk all day and to generally ground your mind, your body, and your breath after the demands of your day. We will begin laying over 2 blocks. If you don't have blocks, you can use pillows, blankets, or towels. And if you do have those 2 blocks, the first one will be on its medium side beneath the bottom tip of your shoulder blades, and the tallest one will be beneath your head as your pillow. Your legs can be straight, or knees can be bent with feet on the floor, or knees can be open and bound angle. We'll be here for about a minute. If you want to stay here longer, feel free to pause the video and spend more time here. So just let yourself begin to drape over your blocks. Let the eyes close. Let your focus move to your breath. The breath flowing in and out through your nose. And each round growing a bit slower and a bit deeper than the round before it. Let your mind start to disconnect from the day that you've had and the day that you will have, and just really settle yourself right here in this moment with this breath. Let's take one more deep inhale here and one more full exhale. And then from wherever you're at, we'll start to bend the knees, roll over onto our side, remove those blocks from beneath us and just put them off to the side of your mat. And then go ahead and lay back down onto the mat with your knees bent, feet on the floor, hip width apart, heels hugged in towards the hips, arms by your side, and we'll inhale and lift the hips up off the ground. And then exhale, slowly lower the hips back towards the floor. Starting to develop a rhythm here with your breath. Inhale to lift and exhale to lower. Feeling free to add arms into this movement. So as you inhale the hips up, the arms can reach up and overhead. And then as you exhale, the hips can lower as the arms lower back by your sides. So arms are optional. Let's continue for a couple more rounds. And then the next time you lower, take your hands to the top of your femur heads, your thigh bones, and just push away from your torso into those thigh bones. Make sure the tailbone is lengthening so that your low back doesn't arch away from the ground. A little bit of decompression for the low back. And then we'll start to roll over onto our side and press up to a comfortable seat, Sukhasana if that's comfortable, or anything that's comfortable for your hips. We'll clasp the hands, push the palms away from the chest, and then start to take the hands up towards the sky. Imagine that someone is pressing down into your palms and press back up into those hands. And then we're going to start to rotate over to your right. Keep pressing up into those imaginary hands. Feel your outer waist and outer arms lengthening as your inner shoulders soften. And then we'll exhale back to center and slowly inhale, rotating and twisting over to the left. Continuing to breathe deeply into the low belly. And allow yourself to feel grounded into both sit bones. Exhale, come back to center and go ahead and release your arms. Just move through the wrists a little bit, especially if you used a mouse and a keyboard a lot today. And then we'll recross your legs. So the other leg is in front. And do that same thing again. So palms clasping or fingers clasping, palms pressing away. And then lift up towards the sky. Press up into imaginary hands. Get really long through the outer body. And then start to rotate and twist to the right. Slow, steady breath. Exhale, come back to center, and then inhale, rotating over to the left. Exhale, come back to center, and then we're going to roll over onto hands and knees, shoulders over wrists, hips over knees, and start to find your way through cat and cow. Inhaling forward into cow, belly dropping down towards the ground, heart lifting. And then exhale, round the spine up towards the sky and let your head drop and release towards the floor. And as we flow here for a few more rounds, just feel this movement initiating from different parts of your spine. So maybe starting the movement from the tailbone or from the thoracic spine between your shoulder blades, or the cervical spine, the neck, or the lumbar spine, that low back. And just see how it changes the feeling of the movement and the awareness of the movement for you and your body. A couple more rounds here. And then with your next inhale, we'll tuck the toes under and start to head into downward facing dog. And spend just a couple of breaths here pedaling out your feet, starting to open up the legs and the hips. And then we'll inhale and roll forward into plank, top of a push-up. And exhale, hips up and back, downward facing dog. Nice slow transition between these two shapes. Again, we'll inhale, roll forward into plank. Exhale, pull back into down dog. Continuing forward into plank. This time we'll lower down onto the belly through chaturanga and inhale into a low cobra. Start to take your hands out to the sides off your mat, come up onto the fingertips, and we'll just start to lift and lower with our breath into a cobra variation. Only lifting as high as feels good for you. Inhale to lift up and exhale to lower. Keep the tops of the feet and the tops of the femur bones pressing down into the ground. And when you're ready, we'll bring the hands back by our sides, press up into table and back into downward facing dog, and start to walk your feet forward towards your hands. Keep the legs straight for as long as you can keep them straight. And then we'll bend the knees nice and deep and roll ourselves up to standing. At the top, we'll inhale and take your hands up towards the sky. Exhale, simply bring those hands down into heart center, palm to palm. Inhale, reach up, stretch up, get long all the way through the body. Exhale, hands into heart. And then let your hands settle palm over heartbeat. Let the eyes close for a few breaths and just feel the rhythm of your breath, the rhythm of your heart. Notice any shifts that have happened in your practice so far. And then we'll blink the eyes open, start to step your left leg back, right leg forward for warrior two, front heel back arch alignment. Take your arms out wide. Let your gaze settle right over that front middle finger. Your next inhale, let's reverse your warrior. Left hand down the back leg, right hand reaching up and over. And then exhale, extended side angle, Parsvakonasana. So right forearm to the front thigh or hand to the floor. And then that left arm reaching up and over. If you'd like to take a half bind with that left arm or a full bind with the right arm, feel free to add that in. Just be mindful of your body and what it's ready for. Keep your shoulders opening, nice steady breath. And then we'll inhale and release, come up, reverse triangle, front leg straight. And then exhale, windmill, hands to the ground. We'll step back for plank, slow lower chaturanga, all the way down onto the belly. Pin the tops of the feet into the ground, clasp the hands behind your back, and start to float the heart away from the floor. And then the feet as well, coming up into locust with a clasp. Continuing to breathe nice and deeply into the belly. And then exhale and release, hands by your side. Let's press back up into table. Exhale, downward facing dog. Again, keeping the legs straight for as long as possible. We'll walk forward, feet to hands. Deep bend into the knees and roll all the way up to stand. Inhale, hands up to the sky. Exhale, hands simply settle down into the heart. Inhale, reach up, stretch up. Exhale, hands slowly settle back down into the heart. And again, bring the hands palm over heartbeat. Feel the rhythm of your breathing and the rhythm of your heart. And we'll move into warrior two on that second side. Left leg forward, right leg back. Feel expansive through the collarbones, through the arms. Find your gaze over your front middle finger. And then we'll inhale and reverse into reverse warrior. Right hand down the back leg, big stretch through the left side of the torso. And then exhale over into Parsvakonasana, extended side angle. And just find your depth. Settle into it layer by layer. Find a place where you find a balance between ease and challenge. And then just breathe nice and deeply. With your next inhale, we'll come up into reverse triangle pose. And then exhale, windmill hands to the ground. Slow step back to plank on your inhale. Exhale all the way down onto the belly through chaturanga. Press into the tops of the feet. Clasp behind the back, awkward opposite side this time. And then start to float up into your locust pose. Exhale, slowly release. Using the hands and the knees, press back to table, and then exhale, downward facing dog. One more stroll forward, feet to hands, step by step. And then when the feet get to the front of the mat, turn your toes out, heels in, about short end of your mat width apart, and we'll settle into squat malasana. Hips dropping, hands at heart center, spine nice and long. If you want a little bit more length and challenge, take the hands and reach them up towards the sky. This will help your hips drop a little bit more. Deep, steady breaths. And then exhale, let your hands reach forward as you step back into downward facing dog. Next inhale, take your right foot up to the sky, and then exhale, step it forward between your hands for a low lunge. So bring your back knee down to the ground, and then inhale, hands reach up towards the sky. Always the option to take the hands to the thigh instead, or to reach the hands back behind you into a clasp. And wherever the hands are, just start to let your heart lift a bit more to the sky. Start to find a back bend. If the neck is bothered at all, you can put a hammock behind the head with your hands. Finding that upper back arch. And then exhale, hands down to the floor. And let's step back, downward facing dog. Inhale, left foot to the sky. Exhale, step it forward between your hands. Low lunge, back knee to the mat. Big reach up towards the sky. And remember, any of those other hand positions are available. We're going to start to melt into that back bend shape here, the heart opening version of the pose. So any of the hand shapes or positions that help you to find that and feel supported. And then exhale, hands down to the floor. We'll step back into downward facing dog once again. And then find our stroll forward into squat malasana and all the way down onto the ground. We'll bring soles of the feet together in front of us, knees open for bound angle. You can always stay upright in this forward fold, maybe even support yourself on the hands behind your back, or you can choose to fold forward here, bowing over the legs. And if you choose the fold forward option, just try to keep length through the spine, specifically that low back region. Inhale, slowly start to lift up. Use your hands to push the knees together. And then we'll start to lower down onto our backs. With knees bent, let your knees drop over to the right. 2 separate V's with your legs. And the option to tuck the right foot on top of the outer left thigh. And try to melt both shoulders down towards the ground. Inhale, come back to center, And then we'll exhale, knees over to the left, again with that option to tuck the left foot on the top of the right thigh. Inhale, come back to center. Hug the feet in towards the hips, knees bent, and let's start to lift up into bridge pose. Setu Bandha. Option to clasp the hands beneath the back. And if you choose not to clasp the hands, then at least start to walk the hands in underneath your back, palm face down into the floor. Couple deep breaths here. Really make sure that the neck and the chin are super relaxed. And then we're going to exhale and lay ourselves down onto the arms. So if you have the clasp, keep the clasp. If your hands were just flat on the ground, lay on top of that. Make sure the wrists are comfortable, but then use this pinning of the arms beneath your back to help open your chest and your shoulders a little bit more. Knees can stay bent, or you can walk the legs out to straight. And just breathe into that spaciousness in the chest. When you're ready to release this, we'll bring the knees back to bent, lift up off those hands. And we'll find just a couple windshield wipers with the knees right to left. Round by round, let that motion start to get smaller and smaller and smaller until your legs are barely moving. And at that point, just stretch out and let yourself settle into your Shavasana, your final relaxation for today. This video is now over, but feel free to stay here for as long as you'd like, renewing and restoring and refueling for the remainder of your day. Namaste.